Hi guys, welcome back. This is part 5 of my awesome childhood. My childhood was awesome. And I started this series not knowing, I thought I would be doing like 2 or 3 videos, but it has expanded. So I'm just gonna keep doing them until all the memories just flood out. So let's see how far it goes. So this is part 5. Alright, so I'm going to start by talking about the funeral goers. Now we had some people in the community who would find it very funny that these persons just went to everybody who died, they attended their funeral. It didn't matter if they were family, close friends, or just people who they heard about. They would just be there, and I always wondered what was the appeal. What was the appeal that made you feel like you needed to attend everybody's funeral? I found it very funny. Now in our community, you had about 1, 2, 3 big cemeteries. Like we had a cemetery at the Baptist church, at the cemetery at the Methodist church, where my school was. My school was located in a huge graveyard, right? So every day in, day out, we'd pass these graves going to and from school. And you had another cemetery somewhere, I think another one somewhere, but those were the 2 main ones. And you had these people, almost every week or twice a week, they would have a funeral to attend. And like I said, I don't think they knew all these people. Maybe it was just for them just showing respect and making a presence there in case the other person didn't have anyone. I don't know. I don't know what was the rationale. But I know I can think of 2 or 3 persons. I don't want to call any names, but I can think of 2 or 3 persons who were just ever present at funerals. And they would cry, they would go through the motions, whether they were close to the person or not. They would stand in reverence, listening to the eulogy and all of that. So, in a sense, I respect that. The fact that you just wanted to show support for someone, because sometimes people have funerals and hardly anybody attend, right? So if you feel like you want to attend just to give that support, I think that's a good thing. Come to think of it, I'm not gonna laugh anymore. I think that's a good thing. Alright, now let's talk about some of the foods that we as children consider to be treats, almost delicacies, right? And looking back, we all know they were junk, right? These were loaded with sugar, loaded with grease, loaded with all kind of bad things. But for us, we look forward to getting it. So you had the jackass, we call it the jackass corn. If that thing was so tough, it would crack your teeth if you didn't know what you were doing. Right, the jackass corn. You had we had stuff, coconut-based stuff like the gizzada, the coconut drops, coconut cakes, and you had sweets, certain type of sweets, like a sweet that we call stagaback, or we call it buster. I think I heard that that sweet was named of one of our national heroes here in Jamaica, Sir Alexander Bustamante. I don't know how true it is, but I hear that sweet was named after him, the stagaback, the buster, because of how tough it was, and he was supposed to have been a really tough person, leading. Well, he founded the Jamaica Labour Party, one of our political parties that have been around for decades, and was very integral in the labor, the demonstrations in the 30s and 40s for adult suffrage and the labor riots and so on, for the workers' rights. So he was, that sweet is supposed to have been named after him or for him, that tough. Now when you had the buster, you had to be careful, just like with the jackal's corn. You had to be careful of not busting out your jaw teeth, how tough it was. We had also, well, my grandmother did this kind of pastry thing called Natty Patty. She named it after herself. Her name was Miss Natty. And so she made this thing where she would knead the dough and, you know, shape it out, and in the middle of it she'd have the coconut and sugar and so on, and then wrap it around that like a patty and fry it. And she used to sell those, so she called it the Natty Patty. And those were very delicious, you know, treats for us as children, and we would look forward to getting those. We didn't always have the money to afford it, so when we did get the money, you know, we'd rush to get these things. And I remember when my grandmother used to sell those Natty Patties, many times we ate those out. She couldn't make a profit because we'd steal them, or my uncles especially would steal them. So my poor grandma didn't make much profit from her Natty Patties. Now the school lunchtime at school. So we had, at primary school, all in school, you would have lunch typically at about 12. And for many of us, sometimes we'd go home for lunch. Home wasn't very far, so you know, you'd run home. And typically for lunch, you would get like your cornmeal porridge or sandwiches or something like that. And then off you went back up to school. Now, if you could have lunch at school, and what the government did was they provided what we call the Nutribullah, the Nutri-buns. So these were buns, bullahs, and milk. Little boxes of milk. Sometimes you had strawberry flavored milk, which was what everybody wanted, the strawberry flavored ones, or chocolate flavored milk. And so some of the poorer children who really didn't have lunch, you know, for a very small fee, I think it was 10 cents. I think it was 10 cents for whether the bun or the bulla or the milk, if my memory serves me right, it was 10 cents or 5 cents, something like that. So they had lunch. For some of them, other than that, they would not eat lunch, because some persons were very, very poor, you know, in my community. So and even some of the parents would give you money to say, when you go to school, buy. Sometimes they would buy even a whole bag of buns or bullahs. I don't think they were supposed to. I'm thinking they probably weren't supposed to sell it like that. Sell it to that in that quantity. Sell to others outside of the children directly in the class. But that went on. Certainly, parents gave children money to buy, because this, like I said, was a form of relief for many persons in the community. Looked forward to that, to provide lunch for their kids and food for themselves, you know. Yeah, so sometimes I went home, got my lunch that my mom prepared, and went back up to school. Alright, now I want to talk about some of the crazy notions we had as children, some of the superstitions and some of the misconceptions that as a child, you know, you just had this idea. You didn't necessarily ask anyone, you just made assumptions. So for example, I think I went through one stage of my life where I actually thought certain places were in the sky, like when people would talk about going to America, going to Canada, whatever, which we just generally call foreign. Foreign, that's what we call it. Anywhere outside of Jamaica was foreign. And because most of the persons who we knew went away, the three places they went to, America, England, and Canada. So to us, that's what foreign meant. And as a child, I remember a phase in my life where I actually thought they were in the sky. Don't ask me how it made sense, but that's where the planes went, and that's where it was. I don't know when I came to my senses, but I eventually came to my senses. Now, in terms of the superstitions, now, you know, superstitions, people are still many people are still very superstitious, even in this day and age, with, you know, more wider knowledge and access to information and, you know, common sense trickling in. But we were told, for example, the Duppy stories and the stories about the rolling calf, and if you were caught outside at a certain time, you know, the rolling calf would get you. So the rolling calf was a special kind of spirit of ghost who was in the form of a bull, and I think he traveled with a younger I don't remember exactly, but you would hear the chains coming when he was coming, and you had the regular duppies who, you know, they were spirits. And for example, if you were in the yard and you smell something cooking, and you know it wasn't coming from your kitchen, so what that meant was the ghost was cooking something and trying to lure you towards the food, right? So what you had to say was, dog and puss step my share. Dog and puss step my share. So what that mean was, you're saying any dog and cat in the area, you want them to eat what the ghost is preparing. You don't want any, because the ghost is just going to lure you away into the bush and stuff bush into your mouth and kill you, and you know, that's the end of you. And also, like at night, you weren't supposed to talk too loud, or they would steal your voice. That kind of, we had tons of these kind of things, as you were told not to do, or make sure you do. Don't sweep at night. If you leave food in your plates at night, the ghost would come. I guess that was linked to, you know, we had traditions of tracing back to West Africa, where the libation, the food, the water was left in honor of the ancestors. So I think some of that can be traced back to our ancestral heritage. We didn't understand, you know, we lost so much in the process of slavery, colonization, all of that. We lost so much. So some of the things were like just remnants of our traditions, our African traditions of libation, honoring the ancestors, and leaving food, pouring water in honor of them. So it trickled down to us as, you know, don't leave food out at night. Don't leave food out at night, because you're going to harbor spirits who are going to come and eat it. Or if you eat late at night, nightmare will ride you. That's how they would say, nightmare will come and ride you. No, by nightmare, you know, what I think they meant, you know, this thing called sleep paralysis, where you feel like you're being held down by some force, some spirit, and you can't move, you feel like you're screaming, you hear yourself screaming in your head, but nobody can hear you screaming, that kind of thing. I think they were referring to as nightmares, right? So a lot of other things, like if you were carrying a baby, holding a toddler in your arm, you shouldn't let the toddler look behind you because the spirit would play with the toddler. All of those kind of things, right? No, you see, these folklore, these superstitions, these stories, of course, they were there as a way of guiding children away from danger. In every society, this is the case. So like we were told about the black art man. When I was growing up, this one of the things we were told, there's this man called the black art man. And he would drive up in his car and he would try to lure you with sweets, goodies, trying to get you to come to the car, and then he would go away with you. Now, we know this kind of thing does happen. Children are kidnapped in this way by luring them with things that they like, telling them untruths, telling them things, mom said you must come, or daddy sent me to call you, that kind of thing. And so driving fear into the child is a way of protecting the child, so the child don't venture too far. And like I said, this is found in every culture. You have these stories that are there to drive terror into the hearts of children and adults too. Some of them, these superstitions, to keep adults safe too. So it's not that it's a bad thing. These stories are there. The purpose is to keep the community safe. Because if you are told that if you do X, Y, Z, you are going to be captured, whether it's by a ghost or a real person, a black art man, you are going to think twice about doing it. And so you might very well end up preserving your life, because there are dangers that are real. And so if you are kept from staying out late at night, if you are kept from venturing too far, then you're being protected from the real dangers as well. So these stories, they serve their purpose. The thing is, though, with the superstitions, when it's good enough as a child to have these things keeping you from danger, but then as an adult, when you still cling to these superstitions with your adult perspective and with your what should be your wisdom, that should tell you that no, these were just stories told to you to keep you within the confines of the safety of the community. And then you start literally taking these things seriously and believing that if you don't do this, that will happen. If you don't do that, that will happen. As an adult, then that borders now on insanity, right? So we have to make, just like you would have, in a particular culture that talks about Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy and whatever, those can serve a good purpose because they are aimed at getting children to behave, to conform, to be nice. Each year you be nice, and at the end of that year you get a reward, right? But then now, for you to grow and become an adult and still holding certain things as true, and that borders now on insanity. So we need to understand the relevance of what's for childhood and what's for adulthood, right? what's for child, there are things for childhood, and there are things that when you become an adult, you understand the role that that played in your life and release it. All right, so that was memory lane number 5, my awesome childhood. Almost sure there will be a number 6. So thanks for staying with me on this channel. Thanks for being there. Without you, it would make no sense. It would make absolutely no sense. So thank you for lending a listening ear to my ramblings. Okay, and I'll see you in the next video.